Hey, if you're around 60 and you're wondering to yourself, do I have enough money saved up for retirement? You know what? You're not alone. The average American around the age of 60 has, according to the Federal Reserve, $185,000 saved up. Now, some have millions, okay? And others barely have really anything. But here's the thing. Averages don't tell the entire story. And if you're stressing because your number doesn't match what the experts or pundits or websites say, you know what? You need to relax. You might be way better off than you think. So let's unpack what's really happening when numbers are thrown around about how much the average American has for retirement. When you hear the term average retirement savings, it sounds simple, but it's not. If you lump in CEOs, billionaires, professional athletes, then that's the number that gets used in the headlines all the time. The better number is the median. The median, or the halfway point, that's what tells the real story. And that's the number that most Americans focus on. Now, if you still go to the websites, you'll see numbers from Investopedia at 250,000, Spark Financial at over 1 million. But let's go with the financial reserve number, okay? The U.S. Financial Reserve uses a number of $185,000. Now that means that half of all Americans have under that amount. But now, wait till you see the next number, because depending on who you ask, the average number will jump by almost $500,000. So Empower, they're a big-time major retirement account manager. They report that in that age range, right, that the average median balance is now about $600,000. Now that sounds great, right? But here's the catch. Empower's accounts already over-index with higher wage earners, right, than what would be normal for the average everyday American. It's not an apples-to-apples comparison if you want to just look at the median U.S. citizen. So when you see the headlines say Americans have $600,000 saved up, you know what? Take that with a grain of salt. Most Americans have less than a third of that saved up for their retirement. And you know what? If that sounds discouraging, hang on, okay? Because the next number should give you a dose of hope when it relates to your individual savings amount. So here's the hard truth. About half of baby boomers, right? Baby boomers are the ones born from 1946 to 1964. Less than half have $10,000 saved up for their retirement. That's not a typo. Less than $10,000 for a lot of U.S. citizens. Social Security will be their only money they receive in retirement. But here's the point the media misses. It doesn't mean your retirement is doomed. All right? So many Americans get by on a little bit less than the required amount that's put out there on the web. All right? And they manage to live quite comfortably throughout their retirement. So you've probably heard this, that you need to have saved up between 8 and 10 times of your average salary in retirement dollars. So who even came up with that number anyway? And is it accurate, and does it really work? Okay, that also assumes that you're going to be spending at the exact same level into retirement, spending the way you used to before you retired. In reality, many retirees survive on much less. They're super comfortable, they simplify their lives, and quite frankly, in retirement, you're after quality, not so much quantity. So instead of chasing somebody else's number, what if you built your retirement number around your lifestyle and how you spend? Let's check it out. So here's a little secret. Most retirees will spend between 20 and 30% less when they retire than they did while they were still actively at work. Think about it. No more commute, perhaps no more dependents, perhaps your mortgage is paid off, and no more wardrobe that you have to get dressed up to go to the office in. You're not out eating lunch every day, you're not trying to impress anybody, and you know what? College tuition may be paid for. So if you've been losing sleep, thinking that you've got to have $1 million in order to retire, right? Let's put that to bed. Let's come up with some real, actual numbers again for you. Okay, let's use that $600,000 number. So let's say you've got $600,000 saved up And a common financial planning rule is 4%. Now, don't get caught up. I hear in the news, oh, that's an old number, or it's too low, or it's too high. Let's just use it as a beginning point. So let's say you withdraw 4% out of that $600,000. What? That's $24,000 a year. Now, if you add in Social Security for you and your spouse, let's call it $20,000 to $25,000 per spouse, and suddenly you're bringing in between $58,000 to $83,000 a year. That's a perfectly comfortable lifestyle for most Americans, especially those who may live in lower cost areas. And here's the best part. Even if you're not at that $600,000 yet, time and timing can impact how much money you need to have saved up and the time you have to be ready for it. So one of the biggest levers you can control is your Social Security. I've done a previous video on helping you calculate how much Social Security will be paying you. I'll link to it right here. But let's talk about it just for a moment. It depends on when you decide to retire. Do you take an early retirement at 62? Do you wait for the most of us to our full retirement age, which is 67? Or do you have enough other money coming in that you can push it off to age 70? If you can push it off after age 67, for every year you push it off, they're going to pay you 8% more. So by the time you hit 70, that's an extra 24% you're going to receive you would not have received if you'd taken it at 67. So for some of us, if you want an instant pay raise, patience may be the key in getting that 24% increase. Now, most people think that Social Security is the entire pie. Gratefully, it's only one of what can be many ingredients that make up your retirement income. A pension, rental property, a part-time job, a side gig. There's lots of other ways to complement your retirement income. And quite frankly, I think retirement's changed. I think we need to be thinking about side gigs, not only for our financial health, but quite frankly for our mental and physical health. Retirement going forward is not going to be the same pension-rich, single-income retirement that our parents had. We're going to really focus on that in this channel. We're going to be looking at side gigs for people over the age of 50, how they did it, what it means to them in terms of financial security. Nearly 80% of all retirees have more than just one income source, that of Social Security. So instead of worrying about the size of your nest egg, start thinking about how many buckets of income you can draw from to fund your retirement. So even if you feel behind, it's not too late. There are some little improvements that you can make that will go a long way. Work one more year, delay your benefits just a little bit longer if you can, contribute some catch-up funds to your tax-deferred and Roth accounts. How about downsizing your home? How about rebalancing your investments? Each of these small decisions in aggregate can all add up together to have a huge impact on your retirement preparedness. So here's the number one truth that spreadsheets will never ever capture. Retirement success isn't all about the dollars, it's about health, it's about freedom, it's about purpose. If your expenses are already under control, guess what? You wake up with a lot less stress in your life, you're already winning. Because a great retirement isn't earned, it's designed, it's intentional. That design starts with you, your goals, your values, and the vision you have for your retirement.